Your life is not falling apart. Recently, there was a moment when you realized you had lost interest in everything, and that was the moment your life quietly shifted for the better. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, when you recognized that you no longer cared in the same way, not even about the things that once excited you. That moment felt frightening because it felt like something had ended. Most people panic when motivation disappears. They assume something is wrong. They rush to label it as failure, burnout, or weakness. But what if this isn't collapse at all? What if this is the exact moment hope arrives, just not in the way you expected? This moment only happens to certain people, and you are one of them. If these words reached you, it's because you were meant to hear them. Stay connected to this message. Follow the channel and leave a like, so this space continues reaching those who are quietly awakening, just like you. There comes a day when the usual things stop working. Entertainment feels flat, conversations feel repetitive, goals that once pushed you forward suddenly feel hollow. Even ambition loosens its grip. Not because you are broken, but because these things no longer numb you. They used to distract you from yourself, now they can't. This is often the first time someone is fully present with themselves. No background noise, no emotional anesthesia, no escape. And that level of presence doesn't feel peaceful at first. If this is happening to you, hear this clearly. You didn't change. The illusion did. And once you see that, there is no going back, only forward into something most people never reach. When interest fades, it doesn't just take motivation with it. It takes you, or at least the version of you that always knew who they were because they always wanted something. When desire disappears, it can feel like your personality went with it. You wake up, and there is no pull toward the future you were chasing, no urgency to become someone, no hunger to prove anything. That's when fear begins, because most of us were taught that wanting is who we are. But the truth is, you are not empty right now. You are exposed. Much of what felt like identity was actually momentum. Habits, ambitions, and roles built around goals that once made sense but no longer fit. When those fall away, the structure holding your sense of self falls with them. That's why this phase hurts in a way people don't talk about. No one warns you that growth can feel like grief. No one tells you that watching your old self disappear can feel like a quiet death. There is a specific sadness that comes with realizing you can't go back to who you were, even if you tried. You remember how driven you used to feel, how certain, how alive. And now, standing here, it feels like something essential is missing. But what's actually happening is simpler and heavier at the same time. You didn't lose yourself. You lost the version of you that depended on something external to feel real. That loss isn't failure. It's space being cleared. If you're reading this and everything feels muted, if you're questioning your direction, your drive, even your place in the world, this is for you. I know how heavy it feels to wake up without desire. Not wanting anything sounds peaceful in theory, but living it can feel unsettling, like you've been unplugged from life itself. You might wonder if you're falling behind, if you've lost your edge, or if something inside you has stopped working. Here is the truth no one says out loud. This phase does not last forever, but it matters more than most phases ever will. It is the pause where nothing is demanded of you, even if your mind keeps insisting otherwise. Insisting that something should be. You are not required to chase clarity right now. You are not meant to force meaning back into places that have already gone quiet. Not knowing who you are for a while does not mean you are lost. It means you are between truths. You do not need fixing. You do not need to be pushed. And you do not need to become someone else to get through this. Let this moment hold you exactly as it is, without pressure and without explanation. Something honest is forming beneath the silence, even if you cannot feel it yet. And when it surfaces, it will not ask you to run. It will simply ask you to be ready. This phase is lonely in a very specific way, which is why almost no one talks about it. It is not the kind of loneliness that comes from rejection or abandonment. It is the loneliness that appears when you can no longer fake enthusiasm. You are still around people, you still show up, you still participate, but something inside you refuses to perform. Laughing feels forced, reacting the way people expect feels dishonest, and yet nothing in your life looks wrong enough to explain why you feel so distant from everything. That is what makes this phase so isolating. You do not have a clean story to tell. You cannot say you are heartbroken, burned out, or lost. On the outside, things look fine, maybe even better than before. So when people ask what is going on, you hesitate because you do not have language for it yet. And when you try to explain, it sounds vague or ungrateful, even to your own ears. I'm not sad, I'm not depressed. I'm just not there anymore. That sentence alone can make you feel misunderstood. What hurts most is how often people expect you to snap out of it, to get motivated again, to remember who you used to be. But that is the problem. You are not who you used to be, and pretending otherwise feels heavier than staying quiet. This is not a breakdown, it is a refusal to keep performing emotions you no longer feel. And that refusal can feel incredibly lonely, because it separates you from the version of yourself everyone else still recognizes. Outgrowing the act is lonelier than wearing it, but it is also the moment you stop betraying yourself. Many people mistake this phase for emptiness, but real emptiness does not feel like this. Emptiness is flat, it is quiet, it does not question anything. What you are experiencing aches because it is honest. The discomfort comes from seeing clearly for the first time, without anything softening the edges. When the usual distractions stop working, when excitement feels forced and motivation feels artificial, you are left face to face with a truth that was always there, but easy to avoid. And that truth can feel heavy before it feels freeing. What begins to hurt is not the lack of feeling. It is the realization of how much of life was lived on autopilot. How many things you chased because they looked meaningful from the outside. How many conversations you stayed in because they filled the silence. How many goals you carried simply because they gave you direction, not because they gave you truth. When that awareness hits, it can feel like the ground shifts beneath you. Not violently, but subtly enough to make everything familiar feel strange. This is the moment when clarity arrives without comfort. You are no longer being carried by momentum. You are no longer numbed by routine. You are seeing your life without filters, without noise, without emotional padding. When interest fades, it is not because you are cold or broken, but because your inner compass has stopped lying. You can no longer feel excited about things that never truly mattered to you. There is a quiet grief in realizing how much energy went into lives and roles that did not fit, not wasted, just misaligned. That grief may look like indifference, stillness, or losing interest in what once defined you. This is not numbness. Numbness is absence. This is presence without distraction. You feel less because you see more. When awareness arrives, enthusiasm for what is false disappears first. That is discernment, not failure. What feels like loss is actually precision forming. You are outgrowing excitement built on pressure, expectation, or survival. This phase can feel uncomfortable and isolating, but it only comes to those ready to stop lying to themselves. You are not empty. You are no longer willing to feel things just to feel normal. And that quiet honesty is the foundation for a life that will no longer require pretending. Society often equates consistency with stability, and stability with success. So inner change is treated as failure rather than progress. From an early age, people are rewarded for predictability, leaving little space for internal transitions that do not produce immediate visible results. When your inner world shifts quietly, without new titles or achievements, the world struggles to place you, and that pressure can create self-doubt. This discomfort does not mean you are regressing. It means you are no longer willing to ignore what is changing inside you. Growth that does not disrupt identity is not real growth, and resistance from the outside is often a sign that meaningful change is happening. Motivation disappears during this phase for a real reason. Much of it is borrowed from external pressure, approval, fear, and reward. When these incentives stop aligning with your inner values, they lose their power. This is not laziness or weakness, and it is not always burnout. It is the mind refusing to be driven by what no longer feels true. Boredom is part of this process. It is not emptiness, but a refusal to engage with stimulation that lacks meaning. The resulting stillness allows recalibration. Meaning does not emerge under pressure or noise. It appears after things go quiet, clearly, and without forcing. This is not confusion or indecision, but the quiet realization that the old version of your life is no longer accessible. Even if everything looks the same on the surface, something inside has closed, and returning to who you were now requires more energy than you have. At the same time, the next chapter has not appeared, leaving you in an unsettling in-between space with no clear identity or direction to hold on to. This state feels uncomfortable because it removes control and cannot be measured or optimized. The fear that arises is not intuition, but withdrawal from certainty. Yet this threshold is not a failure. It is a rare crossing where life shifts from reaction to conscious presence. Feeling unanchored does not mean you are lost. It means old anchors no longer fit. The turning point comes when you stop forcing yourself to move. Pressure, discipline, and willpower no longer work here. Forcing motivation only creates exhaustion. When you stop fighting yourself, the pressure lifts, your nervous system rests, and clarity begins to form naturally. This phase is not meant to be conquered, but inhabited. It asks for presence, not performance. You are no longer living to impress or constantly evaluate yourself. The quiet you feel is not emptiness, but space. In that space, clarity forms naturally, not as a sudden revelation, but through small moments of alignment. You are not behind, stuck, or wasting your life. This pause is preparation for a way of living that does not require abandoning yourself. Depression and transformation can look similar from the outside, but they feel very different inside. Stagnation dulls and closes you off, flattening time and meaning. Transformation, while uncomfortable, creates tension, awareness, and inner movement. It unsettles rather than numbs. Transformation often feels worse before it feels better because it removes false certainty before offering real direction. The silence it brings is not emptiness, but space where something new can form. If you are aware of the discomfort and questioning it, you are not stuck. You are in transition, even when it feels slow or confusing. Transition is still motion. If you are still here, still listening, still allowing these words to reach you, that alone says more than you may realize right now. People who have truly given up do not search for meaning. They do not sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. And they do not feel the quiet pull to keep listening when everything feels heavy. The fact that you are here means there is still a part of you that cares, even if you no longer feel passionate.